My name is Audrey Crawford. I am 32 years old and I design green spaces for corporate buildings. That is the sentence I practice in my head before every family gathering, because if I do not say it cleanly, my mother will translate it into something smaller. She will smile at the room and say I do gardening, as if my life is a hobby you do while waiting for a real one. 2 months ago, on Thanksgiving night, I walked into my parents' house carrying a homemade autumn salad and a bouquet of dahlias I had grown myself. Deep burgundy petals, thick stems, 3 months of patience. I arrived at exactly 5, because being early is the only form of safety I have ever been allowed. My mother opened the door before I could knock. Her eyes flicked to the flowers, then away, like the colour offended her. "Still playing with plants," she said, loud enough for the hallway to hear. Behind her, the living room erupted in squeals. My sister Vivien had arrived. My mother rushed past me with her arms stretched wide, wrapped Vivien in a hug, and complimented her dress as if my sister had invented fabric. It had been 2 weeks since they had seen each other. I stood in the doorway holding my flowers, feeling like a delivery person who had wandered into a private party. The house buzzed with relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, whose names I could not place. My father sat in his leather recliner, deep in conversation with Marcus, my brother-in-law, the man everyone called a real estate consultant. My father did not stand when I entered. He nodded once, eyes still glued to Marcus like a student watching a professor. "Audrey, good. You are here. We need help setting the table." Of course I did. I set napkins, refilled water, carried platters, cleaned plates. I listened to the semicircle of adults lean toward Marcus while he told stories about deals and promotions and money that sounded clean on the surface. I had always felt something slippery under his words. No proof, just instinct. Then I heard my mother in the kitchen, speaking in that hushed conspiratorial tone families use when they think no one is listening. "The cruise leaves December 15th, she said. 2 weeks in the Caribbean. The whole family." "What about Audrey?" Vivien asked, not concerned, just checking a box. A pause, then my father cleared his throat. "She is busy with work. Besides, a trip like this is expensive. We do not want to burden her." They had not asked if I was busy. They had not asked if I could afford it. They had simply decided I was not worth including. I pushed the kitchen door open and said, "I am not invited." 3 faces turned. My mother smiled the way people smile right before they close a door in your face. "Sweetheart, this trip is really more of a family thing," she began. I finished for her. "Not about me." That was the night everything began to crumble, even though none of them understood it yet. After dinner, my father tapped his wine glass with a fork and made a speech about family being everything. 30 people nodded like trained birds. Then my parents presented gifts. Vivien glided forward in designer heels, and my mother handed her a thick envelope with the kind of pride you normally reserve for graduation or weddings. 14-day Caribbean cruise, first class, my mother announced. Applause exploded. Vivien cried the pretty kind of tears. Marcus wrapped an arm around her waist like he owned her, like he owned the entire room. I counted the witnesses because my brain always counts, even when my heart wants to shut down. Then my mother turned to me. "Audrey, honey, come here." I walked forward on wooden legs. She pressed a thin envelope into my hands. Inside was a single slip of paper, a Mega Millions lottery ticket. $2. It was crumpled, as if it had lived in the bottom of her purse beside old receipts and petty grudges. "This is what suits your situation, dear," my mother said. Her smile did not reach her eyes. "Maybe luck will find you." Someone snickered. Then another. Marcus leaned back in his chair and smirked. "Luck is a long shot when you do not have brains to back it up," he said. Vivien covered her mouth and giggled. "Maybe she will win $5. Heat crawled up my neck. My hands tightened around that flimsy ticket until the paper cut into my skin. In that moment, something inside me cracked, not into pieces, but into a sharper shape. I smiled. It surprised even me. "Thank you, Mum," I said. "I am sure this will be exactly what I deserve." No one noticed the edge in my voice. They heard only obedience, because that is all they ever trained themselves to hear. A thin voice cut through the laughter. "Gerald, Patricia, this is not right." Everyone turned. Grandma Grace stood at the edge of the room, trembling with the effort of standing without her walker. Her eyes were sharp. She looked directly at my mother and said, "You cannot treat Audrey this way. Not in front of everyone. Not ever." The silence that followed tasted metallic. My father's jaw tightened. "Mother, please," he said, like she was a child interrupting his speech. "I am not finished," Grandma Grace began, but my mother was already moving. She wrapped an arm around Grandma with practiced efficiency, the way you handle a problem without making a scene. "You are tired, Mum. Let me take you to lie down." Grandma tried to resist. "Patricia, I am not," she said, but my mother's voice turned firm. The doctor said you need rest. Come on. As my mother guided her toward the guest room, Grandma Grace looked back at me. Our eyes met. She nodded once, deliberate. Then her gaze shifted toward her old leather handbag sitting on the armchair by the window, the one no one was ever allowed to touch. Her lips moved silently. Call Thomas Smith this week. Then the door closed. The room exhaled. Conversations resumed. The moment passed like it had never happened, but my skin kept buzzing, like my grandmother had pressed a live wire into my palm. Near midnight, as the last relative stumbled out into the cold, I cleaned up alone. Vivien and Marcus retreated to the living room to plan their cruise wardrobe. My parents played the gracious hosts at the front door. I carried dishes toward my father's study and noticed papers scattered across his desk, like he had been searching for something and could not find it fast enough. Bills with red stamps, a letter from a collection agency, and beneath it, a loan agreement that made my throat tighten. $180,000, co-signed by Marcus Pierce. Interest rate, 32%. That number was not a loan. That number was a trap. My hands shook as I flipped to the next page. Collateral documents. My stomach dropped. Grandma Grace's house. The house where she had lived for 50 years. The house that was supposed to be hers until she passed, then sold to pay for her care, or kept in the family, depending on whose fantasy you believed. There was her signature on the deed transfer paperwork, shaky and uneven, dated 6 months ago. The same month she had fallen and spent 2 weeks in the hospital, heavy with pain medication. They had made her sign when she was not herself. I pulled out my phone. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it in my ears. I photographed everything, page after page, careful to capture dates and signatures and letterheads. I did not have a plan. I only knew that once you see the shape of a lie, you cannot unsee it. I slipped out the back door into the night with the photos saved, my mind racing. The lottery ticket sat on my kitchen counter when I got home, still crumpled, still mocking. $2. That was what they thought I was worth. Maybe it was time to find out what my worth could do to them. 1 week after Thanksgiving, I called my Aunt Marlene. She picked up on the second ring. Audrey, honey. Aunt Marlene, I need to ask you something. Is my dad in serious debt? Silence. You saw something, she finally whispered. I saw papers. Alone with Marcus. And Grandma's house. Her breath hitched. Do not talk about this on the phone. Meet me Saturday. The coffee shop on Elm Street. 2 p.m. Why? I asked, voice tight. Because there are things you do not know yet about Marcus. About your father. About your mother. And Audrey, she hesitated. Do not trust anything Marcus tells you. He is not who he pretends to be. The line went dead. I stared at the lottery ticket on the counter. For the first time, it did not look small. It looked like a key. Saturday came with a grey sky and the kind of cold that crawls under your collar and waits there. The coffee shop on Elm Street smelled like burnt espresso and old cinnamon. I chose a booth in the back, where the window reflected more of the room than it revealed, a habit I learned from years of watching my family without being seen. Aunt Marlene arrived 10 minutes late. She looked older than she had at Thanksgiving, like the weight of silence had been bending her spine for years, and she was finally tired of holding it up. She slid into the booth across from me and clutched her purse like it was the only solid thing left in her life. Thank you for meeting me, I said. I should have said something years ago, she whispered. But Patricia, you know how she is. Tell me about Marcus. Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around her coffee cup. He is not a consultant. Not really. He lends money to desperate people with interest rates that would make a loan shark blush. Your father got in too deep. He thought Marcus would cover it until he could catch up. That is not how men like Marcus work. I swallowed. I had suspected. Instinct had been screaming for years. But instinct is easy to dismiss when everyone around you calls you dramatic. There is more, Aunt Marlene said. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her photos. 2 months ago, at your parents' anniversary party, Marcus left his phone unlocked on the counter. I was not snooping. I was looking for mine. She turned the screen toward me. Text messages between Marcus and someone named Diana. The words were explicit, careless, cruel. Cannot wait until this is over. Once the house deal closes, I am out. What about Vivien? I whispered. She served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. The coffee shop noise blurred. I stared at the screen until the letters began to swim. My sister had laughed at me, yes. My sister had benefited from my humiliation, yes. But in that moment, I saw her as another pawn on Marcus's board. A golden child still gets burned when the house catches fire. Do not tell Vivien yet, Aunt Marlene begged. Marcus is not someone you cross. I looked up. Thank you. You did the right thing. She blinked hard, eyes wet. I am sorry I waited so long. It is not too late, I said, and I meant it. That night, back in my apartment, the lottery ticket sat on the counter like a dare. I had almost forgotten about it, which felt impossible, considering how much it had stung. I opened the Mega Millions app, entered the numbers with a strange calm, like I was checking the weather. First number matched. Second matched. My heartbeat slowed instead of sped up, as if my body refused to believe joy could be real. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. The screen flashed. Jackpot. $100 million. I did not scream. I did not cry. I sat perfectly still for what felt like hours, my hands flat on the counter, my eyes fixed on the numbers like they might change if I blinked. When I finally moved, it was not towards champagne or social media or a list of fantasy purchases. It was toward my laptop. I typed in lottery winner what to do first, like a person trying to follow instructions for surviving a storm. Then I remembered my grandmother's lips forming those words. Call Thomas Smith this week. I called the next morning. My voice sounded too steady for what I was holding inside. Thomas Smith's office smelled like old books and expensive leather when I arrived. He was in his early 60s, silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, the kind eyes of a man who still believed contracts meant something. He gestured for me to sit across from his mahogany desk. Your grandmother said you might reach out, he said gently. She told me to call you. I do not know why. He slid a folder across the desk. 10 years ago, your grandmother established a trust in your name. $500,000. She funded it quietly. She was afraid your mother would find a way to take it from you. My throat tightened. I opened the folder. Legal documents. Bank statements. Everything real. My grandmother had been protecting me from a family that claimed I was too independent to need anyone. There is more, Thomas said, tapping another section of the file. The house. I saw the papers, I said. My father used it as collateral. He nodded. The deed transfer was signed 6 months ago, the day after your grandmother was hospitalized. She was on heavy pain medication, barely coherent. The signature is shaky. The timeline is suspicious. Proving coercion can be difficult without witnesses, but it is not impossible. This is fraud, I whispered, nausea rising. Potentially, he agreed. Your father owes Marcus Pierce $180,000. The house was collateral. If your father defaults, Marcus gets the property. The pieces clicked together with a sick clarity. The favoritism. The exclusion. The lottery ticket. They needed me small and distracted because I am the one who notices details. I am the one who reads the fine print. That is what my mother hates about me, not my job, not my plants. My eyes. What can I do, I asked. Thomas leaned forward. With your resources now, you have options. We can challenge the deed. We can pay off the debt to remove the lien. We can protect your grandmother's home with strict legal barriers. I stared at the trust fund amount, then at the lottery ticket information I had printed and brought in an envelope. $500,000 from Grandma Grace. $100 million from a $2 joke. Let us protect her, I said. He nodded once, slow and approving. Then we move carefully. And you tell no one. I left his office with a plan for the first time in my life. Not a dream. Not a hope. A plan. The nursing home smelled like antiseptic and fading flowers. Grandma Grace's room was small but bright, with a window that overlooked a garden that needed help. The kind of help I had built my entire career around. When I walked in, she looked smaller than I remembered, but her eyes were sharp. The same eyes that had watched our family rot from the inside and refused to pretend it was perfume. Audrey, she said, reaching for my hand. Of course I came, I told her, pulling a chair close. I talked to Thomas Smith. Good, she murmured. He is a good man. Why did you not tell me about the trust? I asked softly. Because your mother would have found a way to take it, she said, voice firm. You were the only one who never asked me for anything, never expected anything. That is how I knew you deserved it. Tears burned behind my eyes. Grandma, the house, I said. They made you sign papers. Her hand trembled. Everything was foggy. I was in pain. I do not remember it clearly. We are going to fix it, I promised. She studied my face, then tilted her head. There is something else you are not telling me. I hesitated, then told her about the lottery, about the $2 ticket, about the $100 million. Her laugh surprised me. It sounded like dry leaves moving in wind. Karma, she whispered. I always believed in karma. I am going to buy back your house, I said. I am going to make sure you can live there again. Whatever it takes. She cupped my cheek. I do not need you to take revenge on anyone. I need you to be free. And I need you to protect what matters. Promise me you will not become like them. I kissed her forehead. I promise. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, my family gathered again for a bon voyage dinner before the cruise. I was invited, not as a guest, as labour. Audrey, arrange the centerpieces. Audrey, direct the caterer. Audrey, tell Grandma's nurse we will be gone 2 weeks. I did it all with a smile, because a smile is camouflage. Marcus held court, describing snorkeling and fine dining and spa treatments. Vivien sighed dramatically about the outfits she needed to pack. My mother raised her glass to fortune and family. My father praised Marcus as the best thing that ever happened to the Crawfords. Marcus leaned close to me, his breath smelling like expensive whiskey and cheap entitlement. Buy any more lottery tickets, Audrey. Maybe you will win $5 next time. The table laughed. I let them. You never know, I said. Luck has a way of surprising people. The morning they left for the cruise, my mother accused me of not seeing them off, as if I owed her one more performance. I told her I had a client meeting. She sighed. Always work with you. Always work. Like work was a flaw and not the reason I was still standing. That day, I sat in Thomas Smith's office and formed an LLC to claim my winnings anonymously. When the money cleared after taxes, it would be roughly $62 million, more than enough for what I had planned. My phone buzzed. A message from Vivien. Something is wrong with Dad's credit card. It got declined at the port. Can you transfer $500? I will pay you back. I stared at the screen. The irony tasted sweet and bitter at the same time. The first time in my life, my sister had asked me for money, and it was while she was boarding a luxury cruise my parents had bought her. I typed back. I do not have $500 to spare right now. Ask Marcus. He is the financial consultant. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Never mind. We figured it out. I did not ask how. I did not care. What mattered was that they were on that ship now. All of them. My parents, my sister, Marcus. Trapped in the middle of the ocean for the next 2 weeks. Unable to reach into my life and rearrange the furniture of my decisions. On day 3 of their cruise, I posted a single story on social media. Just me standing in front of Grandma Grace's house. The caption was simple. Home renovation project starting soon. I knew my father would see it. He checked social media obsessively because it was the only way he could control a narrative he could not physically touch. The same day, local news ran a short story. Mega Millions jackpot claimed. Winner remains anonymous. Ticket purchased at a convenience store 3 miles from the Crawford family home. My Aunt Marlene mentioned it in the family group chat, innocent as a match tossed into gasoline. The chat exploded with jokes and speculation. Then a private message from my mother. Audrey, that lottery ticket I gave you for Thanksgiving. You still have it, right? I waited an hour before responding. Yes, Mum. Why? Just curious. No reason, she wrote, followed by a nervous smile emoji she never used unless she was cornered. By evening, my phone had dozens of missed calls. By midnight, nearly 100. Their panic was not about me. It was about what they thought I might be holding. I texted Thomas Smith. Is everything ready? His reply came fast. Ready when you are. I opened the family group chat and typed one message. I will video call tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Everyone needs to be there. The confirmations flooded in. They thought I was going to announce my winnings and hand them my throat on a silver platter. At exactly 8, I clicked join call. Their faces filled my screen, crowded together in what looked like a ship lounge, a tropical sunset behind them like a staged postcard. My mother's voice turned sugary. There is our girl. We miss you so much. Dad leaned forward. We heard some interesting news. Something about a lottery ticket. I did not flinch. Yes, I won. Silence hit like a wave. How much, Audrey? My father whispered. $100 million, I said. Vivien looked like she might faint. Marcus recovered first, smile sharp. You are going to need help managing that. Investments, tax strategies, asset protection. Family helping family. I cut him off. I have a lawyer. His smile flickered. What kind of lawyer? The kind who reads signatures, I said. And before we talk about money, there are some things this family needs to see. I shared my screen. The loan agreement appeared first. $180,000, 32% interest. Co-signed by Marcus. My father turned white. Then the deed paperwork. Grandma Grace's shaky signature. The hospital dates. The timeline that screamed coercion. My mother made a strangled sound. Then the screenshots of Marcus's messages to Diana. Once the house deal closes, I am out. She served her purpose. Divorce papers are drafted. Vivien's face collapsed. Marcus stood up, chair scraping, voice rising. Those are fabricated. I looked directly at my sister. Vivien, look at him. Ask him. She turned to Marcus. Marcus. He did not answer. He grabbed his phone and walked out of frame. My mother started sobbing. My father stared into nothing like his body had stayed on the ship, while his soul fell into the ocean. Here is what is going to happen, I said quietly. I am paying off the loan. The lien on Grandma's house will be cleared. The deed will be transferred back to her and locked down legally. None of you will have any claim to it. Audrey, Dad pleaded, we are family. Family does not steal from 90-year-old women, I said. Then I ended the call. The moment the screen went black, my apartment felt too quiet. like the air had been sucked out and replaced with truth. I had imagined that call for weeks. I thought I would feel triumph. I thought I would feel victory. Instead, I felt hollow, tired, like I had finally stopped carrying a weight I did not realise had been crushing my ribs for 32 years. My phone exploded with calls and messages. I turned it to silent and set it face down. A knock came at my door. My muscles tensed. No one knew I had moved. When I looked through the peephole, I saw Aunt Marlene standing there, shoulders slumped, eyes red, like she had been crying on the drive over. "Thomas Smith gave me the address," she said as soon as I opened the door. "I hope you do not mind." I let her in. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. "You did good, honey. You did what none of us had the courage to do." "Did I?" I whispered. "I just destroyed my family on a video call." "No," she said, pulling back and gripping my shoulders. "They destroyed themselves years ago. You just turned on the lights." 2 weeks later, Thomas called with news that made my knees go weak. The challenge went through faster than expected. Medical records and Aunt Marlene's testimony pressured the bank to void the transfer tied to your grandmother's hospitalization. Your father defaulted when Marcus stopped co-signing. The house is still tangled, but it can be cleaned. "Pay it off," I said. "Whatever it costs." Approximately $215,000 with principal, interest, and legal fees, Thomas confirmed. "After that, the deed transfers cleanly to your grandmother's name, protected." I drafted a clause. No member of the Crawford family can claim any rights to the property. Not during her lifetime, not after. After she passes, it goes to you per her original wishes. "Add one more clause," I said. "Full-time care for Grandma Grace, for the rest of her life, already funded, no one can interfere." It was done. Then the dominoes fell, without me lifting a finger. Marcus tried to control the narrative, calling me unstable, claiming screenshots were fake. Diana did not play along. 3 days after my call, she posted everything. Photos, receipts, hotel bookings, voice notes. 2 of his associates filed complaints about predatory lending. Within a week, an investigation started. My father declared bankruptcy the next month. My mother lost her social circle overnight. That was her real punishment, not poverty, humiliation. She called me weeks later, voice cracked with rage. "You ruined us." "I did not ruin anything, Mum." I told the truth. "You could have saved your father," she hissed. "I could have covered up fraud," I replied. "I could have let you keep Grandma's house." I chose not to. She called me cold. I told her I learned from the best. Then I ended the call and did not tremble afterward. Vivien sent a handwritten letter 3 months later. She apologised without asking for money. I did not forgive her immediately, but I met her for coffee the next month. Awkward. Real. A start. In April, Grandma Grace came home. I watched her smile at the neglected garden and say, "It needs work." I smiled back. That is my specialty, remember. 1 year later, I still work, not because I need money, but because I love what I do. I built a small foundation in Grandma's name to fund scholarships for women whose families do not see them. The money did not make me happy. It gave me options. The real jackpot was the moment I stopped waiting for my family to recognise my value, and I chose myself. If you have ever felt invisible at your own table, hear me. Walk away. Build your own. And do not let anyone hand you $2 and call it your place.